It was a Saturday night in March 1973 at the Las Vegas Hilton, and Elvis Presley was deep into his regular residency there, doing two-pack shows every single night for sold-out crowds. The atmosphere in that room was always electric, thousands of people singing along, camera flashes going off everywhere, the band playing tight and sharp the way they always did. Elvis was about halfway through one of his most beloved songs, Can't Help Falling in Love, when something pulled his attention away from the audience and toward the stage behind him. His three backup singers were doing what they always did, layering harmonies underneath his voice and adding soul and depth to the performance. But something about one of them was off, and Elvis noticed it even though his back was partially turned to them. Her name was Angela Martinez. She was 28 years old and had been singing backup for Elvis for about 8 months at that point. She was known for being talented, dependable, and completely professional. She knew every single arrangement cold, her voice blended beautifully with the other singers, and she had never given anyone a reason to worry about her. But tonight was different. Angela was standing up there hitting every single note exactly right. Her harmonies were flawless. When the choreography called for her to smile, she smiled. When she needed to move, she moved. Everything looked completely normal from where the audience was sitting. But Elvis could see, even in the bright stage lighting, that tears were running down Angela's face. She was doing everything in her power to keep it hidden, to hold herself together, to keep performing the way she was supposed to. But the tears were there and Elvis could see them clearly. He finished the song, took his bow, and moved into the next number. But he kept an eye on Angela throughout the rest of the show. She never broke. She kept singing perfectly, kept smiling at the right moments, kept doing her job without a single visible crack, all while clearly going through something deeply painful. Elvis had seen a lot of professionalism over the years, but watching someone perform flawlessly while silently falling apart was one of the most striking things he had ever witnessed on a stage. The show ran for another 40 minutes and Elvis gave the audience everything they had paid to see, but in the back of his mind the whole time, he was thinking about Angela and what could possibly be hurting her that badly. When the final bow was done and people started filing off stage, Elvis caught a glimpse of Angela quickly wiping her face as she walked toward the wings, trying to clear away the tears before anyone noticed. Normally after a show Elvis would do a quick rundown with his band, spend a little time with fans, and eventually make his way up to his suite. But that night he skipped all of it and went straight backstage to the hallway where the backup singers had their dressing room. The backstage area was busy the way it always was after a show, roadies moving equipment, crew members going back and forth, musicians heading out. Elvis walked through all of it with one clear destination in mind. He knocked on the backup singer's dressing room door, and one of the other singers, Kathy, opened it. She looked genuinely surprised to see him standing there, since Elvis did not typically come to their dressing room after shows. He asked if Angela was there. Kathy told him she was in the back changing, then lowered her voice and asked if something was wrong or if Angela was in some kind of trouble. Elvis told her it was nothing like that and that he just needed to speak with Angela for a minute. Kathy called back into the room for Angela, and a moment later Angela appeared in the doorway, now in street clothes instead of her stage outfit, her stage makeup removed, which made it much more obvious that she had been crying. Her eyes were red and swollen. She immediately started apologizing, telling Elvis she was sorry if something had been off during the show and that she had really tried to stay professional. Elvis gently interrupted her and asked if they could speak somewhere private. Angela looked uncertain and a little worried, but she nodded and followed him down the hallway to a small storage room with a couple of chairs in it. Elvis closed the door behind them and they both sat down. He started by telling her clearly and directly that she had given a perfect performance that night, that every note was right, every harmony was where it needed to be, and that she had done her job without a single mistake. Angela looked visibly relieved and started to thank him. Then Elvis said quietly, "Now tell me what's breaking your heart." Angela's eyes immediately filled up with tears again. She said she thought she had been hiding it well enough that nobody could tell. Elvis told her he was not upset with her in any way, that he was worried about her, and he asked her what had happened. For a moment she didn't say anything. Then the words came pouring out all at once. She told him about her daughter, Isabella, who was 6 years old. Angela was raising her as a single mother. That afternoon, she had gotten a call from her own mother, Maria, who watched Isabella while Angela was working. Maria had told her that Isabella had been running a high fever all day and that after taking her to the doctor, they had been told it could be pneumonia. The doctor wanted Isabella admitted to the hospital for observation. Angela said she had desperately wanted to leave, to get on a plane and go be with her daughter, but she had a contract and she could not simply walk away from shows. This job was how she supported herself and Isabella. If she missed performances she risked getting fired, And if she lost this job, she had no idea how she would cover hospital bills or keep their apartment. So she had stayed. She had gone on stage and sung every note exactly right because she could not afford to lose her income. But she said every single second she was on that stage, all she could think about was her little girl lying in a hospital bed, scared and not understanding why her mother was not there. Angela looked at Elvis and said that was what was breaking her heart, and that she felt like she was breaking it herself. She asked, with real pain in her voice, what kind of mother picks a job over her sick child? Elvis sat quietly for a moment after she said that. Then he told her that she was not choosing her job over her daughter. She was doing what mothers do, which is find a way to provide for their children no matter how hard it is. But then he said he thought they could work something out. Angela said there was nothing to figure out, that she had signed a contract and she understood what she had agreed to. Elvis asked her what hospital Isabella was in and where it was located. Angela told him Cedar Sinai in Los Angeles, near their apartment, where Maria had taken her. Elvis stood up and told Angela to come with him. She asked where they were going. He said first to his suite so he could make some phone calls, and then they were going to get her on a plane to Los Angeles that night so she could be with her daughter. Angela's eyes went wide. She told him she could not do that because of her contract. He told her he would handle the contract and that it was not her concern. Her concern was her daughter. She reminded him there was a show the next day. Elvis told her they had 3 backup singers and tomorrow they would have 2, and the show would be absolutely fine, and her daughter needed her mother more than any performance needed another voice. Angela started crying again, but this time it was a different kind of crying. She said she could not ask him to do all of this. Elvis told her she was not asking, he was telling her, and this was what was going to happen right now, so they needed to move because there was no time to waste. He brought Angela up to his suite and got straight on the phone. The first call was to his tour manager, where he laid it out plainly. Angela was leaving immediately for a family emergency. It was not up for discussion, and the team needed to adjust the arrangements for the following shows. The second call was to his assistant, where he told him to book Angela on the very next flight to Los Angeles and to put her in first class without worrying about what it cost. The third call took a little more time because he was working through the hospital system trying to reach someone who could actually give him real information about Isabella's condition and what treatment she was receiving. Angela sat in the suite and watched all of this happen, barely able to believe it was real. 20 minutes earlier she had been trying to figure out how she was going to survive the next show with everything she was carrying inside. Now Elvis Presley was on the phone with her daughter's hospital asking specific questions about her care. When he hung up he turned to Angela and told her that Isabella was stable, that they were giving her antibiotics and keeping a close eye on her fever, and that her mother Maria was there with her. He told her there was a flight leaving in 2 hours and that his driver would take her to the airport right now. He handed her an envelope and told her there was cash inside for whatever she needed, and that if the hospital bills ended up being more than her insurance would cover, she should call him. Angela looked at the envelope and told him it was too much. Elvis told her it was not too much, that she was part of his team, and that when someone on his team was in trouble, they helped each other, and that was simply how things worked. He told her to go get to that hospital and be with her daughter, and to call him the next day and let him know how Isabella was doing. Angela said she was still worried about her job. Elvis told her job would be there when she came back, and that however long she needed, whether it was 2 days or 2 weeks, it did not matter. She was to take care of her daughter, and when Isabella was truly better, Angela could come back to work. Then Elvis walked over and put both hands on her shoulders and looked at her directly. He told her that what he had watched her do that night, performing perfectly while going through that kind of pain, was one of the most professional things he had ever seen. But he said he never wanted to see it again, not from her and not from anyone on his team. He said he never wanted anyone working for him to feel like they had to choose between their family and their job. He told her to go be Isabella's mother, because the music would still be there when she got back. Elvis's driver got Angela to the airport that night, and she made her flight with 20 minutes to spare. By 2 o'clock in the morning she was walking through the door of Isabella's hospital room at Cedar Sinai. Isabella was asleep with an 4-line in her small arm and monitors beeping softly around her. Angela's mother Maria was dozing in a chair next to the bed and woke up when Angela came in, immediately asking how she was there when she was supposed to be in Las Vegas doing shows. Angela told her simply that Mr. Presley had sent her. She went straight to Isabella's bedside and took her daughter's hand. Isabella's eyes opened slowly, and when she saw her mother standing there her whole face lit up. She asked in a sleepy little voice if her mama had really come. Angela told her of course she had, that she was right there and she was not going anywhere. Isabella smiled and closed her eyes again, holding her mother's hand, and settled back into a much more peaceful sleep than she had been in before her mother arrived. Angela stayed at the hospital for 4 full days. Isabella responded well to the antibiotics, her fever came down, and the doctors cleared her to go home. Angela called Elvis from the hospital to give him an update and to ask when she should be back in Las Vegas. Elvis asked how Isabella was doing first, and Angela told him she was much better and that they would be able to go home the next day. Elvis told her what he wanted her to do was take Isabella home, let her rest properly in her own bed for a few more days, and be her mother. He told Angela to call him when Isabella was genuinely recovered, not just released from the hospital but truly back to herself, and they would talk about her coming back to work then. Angela said she had already missed 4 shows and felt terrible about it. Elvis told her the shows had gone fine and that the team had adjusted, and that she should not spend one more second worrying about performances and should put all of her energy into her daughter. Angela returned to work 10 days after that night. When she walked into rehearsal, the other singers applauded for her. Elvis stopped what he was doing and came over to ask how Isabella was. Angela told him she was completely recovered, totally back to her normal self, and that her mother was with her. Elvis said he was glad to hear it. Then he turned to face the entire band and crew and said he wanted everyone there to know something. He said what Angela had done, performing at a professional level while dealing with a personal crisis of that magnitude, was admirable. But he said he never wanted to see it again, not from her and not from anyone else in that room. He told them that if any of them ever had a real family emergency, they were to come to him and they would figure it out together. He said nobody on his team should ever have to feel forced to choose between their family and their job, because they were not just a band, they were people, and people look after each other. The room was quiet. Several people were wiping their eyes. Elvis turned back to Angela, welcomed her back, and told the band to get to work. In 1989, Angela Martinez was interviewed for a documentary that was being made about Elvis's touring years, and she shared the full story of that night in March 1973. She said she had been up on that stage singing perfectly and crying at the same time because she genuinely believed she had no other option. She had been taught that you stay professional no matter what is happening in your personal life, that the show goes on regardless, and she had taken that completely to heart. She said Elvis saw her crying and he did not look away or pretend not to notice. After the show, he tracked her down and asked her what was wrong. And when she told him, he did not tell her to toughen up or push through it. He put her on a plane and sent her home to her daughter. She said he paid for the flight himself, gave her money for expenses, and told her to stay as long as she needed and that her job would be waiting. And she said he meant every word of it, because when she came back 10 days later he welcomed her back without hesitation and without making her feel guilty for a single moment. She said something had changed for her through that experience. She had learned that Elvis saw the people around him as actual human beings, not just as performers who needed to hit their marks and deliver results. He had seen her not as a backup singer who needed to be professional, but as a mother who needed to be with her sick child. And that, she said, had changed the way she saw herself and the way she thought about her work. She no longer felt like she had to pick one or the other. Elvis had shown her that being a good mother and being a good professional were not two things that had to be in conflict with each other, and that a true leader makes sure the people around them never have to face that choice alone.